It's hard to get to the top. Keep pushing yourself because there's going to be an obstacle.
Ali Farhat,
author and President's Award winner,
has mastered the climb to #1.
And he's here to help you push limits
and become the person
you've always dreamt of becoming.
Go to school, get good grades, get a degree, work at a corporation. That doesn't have to be your life. That's what they want us to think. But truly, everyone has greatness in them.
Let's go into this rat race. Where would you start?
First thing I would say is find that mentor. When we have a goal, we're asking the people that haven't done that. Just think about how crazy that sounds. The second one is understanding your personal brand. So you want people that are in the room to speak about you in a way that represents you well, your reputation. Control the controllables. It's all about mindset. Everybody has similar obstacles. You are where you're at. It sucks in the moment. What do we got to do?
Is self-doubt important?
The way you speak to yourself is the way the world perceives you. When you allow negativity to get into your space, sometimes that clouds your judgment.
What aren't people realizing about their spouse or partner in their career growth journey?
Your spouse, that's the person that's gonna push you to the next level. One of the advice that I always give people that are getting married, the most important conversation is to have.
Can you walk me through the moment you knew that she passed away?
Yeah, it was, sorry.
You guys know how much I love stories that paint a climb from nothing to everything that the person wants. I love listening to these stories because each one of them is different, but they're based in the same principles. And it's one of those things where the more you listen to them, the more you feel like it's possible. You know, so it's like this inspirational thing. You hear all these stories of people that made it to where they want to be, whatever that thing is, and they're all using the same principles. So at one point, even if you don't see it necessarily directly, you have to believe that this thing works just based off of how many people say it. And each story is different in its own ways. Every person goes through their own personal struggles. And this is what you see here. Ali published a book called Relentless, The Personal Climb to #1, where he talks about his journey and where he was to where he is in his specific field. And I think this is one of the things that I love most about this, is that this is not necessarily what you're used to, like a Hollywood actor from 0 to 100 or a stand-up comedian that went from 0 to 100. This is a person that found a field that any person can go into, and he made the most out of it, and he achieved the most prestigious award in the industry that he was in. So there's a lot to pick up from this book and from this conversation, and I think you're going to be a good judge of that. So subscribe to the podcast if you haven't yet. Like this video, let me know what you think in the comments, and with that being said, let's get this show started.
Welcome aboard Middle East Airlines.
والمتوجهة إلى طيران الشرق الأوسط يرحب بمدينة القدس العربية.
Ali, welcome to Not From Here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Ali, the way we usually start this show off is by self-introduction on your part. The way that I best visualize self-introduction is when you look yourself in the mirror and you talk to yourself. When you do that, who is that person?
Well, it's in the title of the book. It's somebody who's relentless. It's someone who's always pushing themselves to be the best version. Mm-hmm. Someone that's motivated, someone that's curious, somebody that wants to learn. I'm also a father, a husband. But if there's one word that sums me up every morning when I'm looking in that mirror, it's definitely that word, relentless.
Mm. Why is being curious important in that description?
Well, I think that's how you learn. Right, I think this idea that you know everything is false. There's always room for improvement. There's always people that can teach you stuff. There's always opportunities to want to grow. And so you just have to be asking the right questions and surrounding yourself with the right people. Mm. And so that's why it's extremely important to always be curious. And it can be about anything. I mean, you can be curious about, how this cup of coffee is being made, how you write a book, how you be successful in your work, whatever field that might be in. But you gotta ask the questions.
Do you think people haven't been as curious as they should be?
I think that there's a few things. I feel that people think that one, it's you're bothering someone to ask questions. And so one of the big messages in my book is talking about mentorship. So a lot of times what happens is, the outside world sees the person's success in that moment. And so they feel like it's an overnight success when the reality is it's not, right? It's years of hard work, dedication, blood, sweat, tears. And you're only seeing the end result, but you're not seeing the journey that that person went through. And so finding that mentor is extremely important, because a lot of times what happens is when we have a dream, when we have a goal, we're asking the people that haven't done that. And so just think about how crazy that sounds, right? If you have a goal that's bigger than anyone in your circle, naturally they're going to say, you're crazy. I mean, you can't do that. It's not going to happen. And so that starts to play with your mindset. And so obviously your mindset is extremely important, because the way you talk to yourself is what pushes you, is what motivates you. And so when you find the right mentor, someone who's already done it, well, they can absolutely walk in your shoes, and they can absolutely guide you. They can absolutely help you get to where you want to get to. So it's extremely important to surround yourself with the right people and ask the right questions.
And did you feel that you had that gap starting off? I'm talking young Ali.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny because, growing up, I come from a large family. I'm one of 8 children, and there's a lot of love, a lot of support with my family. But my age was kind of like in the middle, right? So my older brothers are, 6 to 10 years older than me. My younger siblings are 5+ years older, right? So growing up in those impressionable years, you kind of get lost, right? So when you're a teenager or a young adult and you're trying to ask these questions, because I've always been a dreamer. I've always been someone that, reaches for the stars. Someone that truly believed that I was going to be destined for greatness. But when you're kind of growing up trying to figure that out, my journey just took a little bit longer, right? And just having that confidence, because as I was saying earlier, when you're telling people, oh, you want to, be a head coach for the NBA, right? Like that will never happen, right? And so you start playing with your mind that say, no, maybe I'm just destined to do a 9-to-5 job. So again, at a young age, is just try to find that for younger people now, is what I try to explain to them, is that surround yourself with the people you're trying to inspire to be like, because they will be able to help you. They will be able to guide you. They'll be able to give you the advice. And so even though it took me a little bit longer, I'm still grateful, because now I know that the journey and everything that's happened was for a reason. I mean, so there's learnings in every obstacle, every frustration. It's not necessarily a bad thing to fail. A lot of people think, oh, I can't fail. I got to be perfect. I got to go to school. I got to get 100% every single time. But the reality is you learn more from those failures and those growing pains.
There's this thing that I saw one time, that to put something out to the world, rather than thinking about it, it has to be 100% perfect, because I think what you're saying is that's what people do. No, this pitch has to be 100% perfect. This email has to be 100% perfect. This, I don't know, whatever it is, has to be 100% perfect for me to go on to the next one. And there's something called the 70% rule, where if you're 70% satisfied with it, go for it. And then just start racking up those 70s next to each other, and then at one point you're going to find yourself that you are improving, you are getting better. And that obsession with, oh, I want to be perfect, is kind of like an excuse to not doing more.
It just holds you back, right? So when you're asking successful people, why are you successful? Is because the time you come up with an idea, whatever that might be, a business idea, something creative, right? And you say it's not the right time. Well, that other person that's successful, they've probably done it 5 things already into that experience, if that makes sense, right? So to your point, it's never a perfect time. It will never be a perfect time. You will never be perfect, right? That's the journey of life, is to keep growing, keep learning, keep pushing yourself. And so again, if you fail, it's okay, because then you know in the next time what not to do. But the whole message around that should be really moving fast. Now, not obviously you want to be calculated. You want to take smart risks. You don't want to put yourself in danger or your family in danger. But if there's a goal, or if there's an obstacle that's in your way, don't let waiting for the perfect time dictate when you can go for it. Just go for it.
I think also that thing in the very beginning phase that we were talking about is not knowing what to do. So you mentioned that, okay, someone thinks that, hey, can I be an NBA coach? Not a lot of people around me would have that experience, so I probably shouldn't go for it. But what about someone that doesn't know what they want to do, you know?
Yeah.
Straight out of college, some jobs here, working at a restaurant here, at a coffee shop here, at a tire shop. I don't know. You had a similar experience.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been working, since the age of 12, right? I like I said earlier, I come from a large family, and I knew that, my father, when I was younger, would work in New York, to support his family, and my mother would raise us, and, so I understood hard work. I seen it. My family, just like many in the audience, come from, Lebanon. They're immigrants. To ask them to come into a new world and to support a family, a growing family, it takes courage. You have to have a lot of self-discipline, and you have to be a hard worker. And that's honestly the greatest thing that my parents gave to me, because I seen it firsthand. And so when my father made that decision to not travel to New York and to be here with his family, his growing family, I also seen that. I also seen him work extremely hard in the insurance business and building up his book of business. And, I can remember, days where he'd be sitting down with papers all over the desk and him trying to find leads and, you going from place to place. And I was there, he would tell me, hey, come along. So my Saturdays would be with my father kind of going and, him showing me what hard work meant. Like that's, to me, like that's a man, right? That's somebody this guy is providing for his family. He's, has 8 children, is relentless, right? I get it from him. My mother, I get like her sensitivity, her love, her warmth. And so blending them together made me the man that I am today. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so appreciative. And I know that all the hard work that they've done, I don't want it to go in vain. And so everything that I do, I really try to remember like those early days, because I know that hard work is what is needed, right? We kind of live in this world where we think that we have to go to school. We got to get 100% on our test. We got to get all A's. Yeah, we got to go become a doctor or a lawyer, right? Because that's what people think is successful. And I'm here to kind of say, not really. I mean, I'm not saying don't be. If that's what you're passionate about, that's what motivates you, absolutely go ahead and pursue it. But don't think that profession is what's going to make you successful, right? Don't follow the money, because there are other ways that you can do it. Whether that's climbing the corporate ladder, whether that's owning your own business, whether that's taking a little bit more time to get to the lifestyle that you want. But everyone defines success differently. Everyone looks at success differently. And what happens is when you start to compare, that's where the issue is. And that's the whole point of the book, right? So when I'm saying relentless, and the subtitle is The Personal Climb to Number One, it's intentional. It's the personal climb, right? It's your climb. It's not my climb. So just because, we're in the same circle or we grew up together and you're 5 levels above me, that's not a place of jealousy. It shouldn't be. It should be a place of, that's incredible. Like that's someone that was in the same area, is having the success, is growing. So if they can do it, why can't I do it? And that's the kind of the mindset. That's what I'm hoping the book portrays, because at the end of the day, what you'll realize when you read it, or if you hear it on Audible, is that it's not about the reward of getting to the mountaintop. That's what I thought, to be completely honest. I thought that's what I needed to do. Like I was obsessed with it for years. And when it happened, I realized that wasn't the reward. It truly was the journey. It was who I was becoming. It's how I've evolved. It's how I see the world. It's how I love deeper. Like I love my wife and my children more than anything. It's like such a deep, deep love. It helps me kind of be more centered. My relationship with Allah, and just being able to lean there and go into that space, and to be able to wake up every morning with purpose and intention. So that's really what it's about.
How do you define success?
Oh, I'm still trying to define it, to be honest, right? No matter how many mountaintops you're going to hit, and you are, right? Even though they might seem small, every small mountaintop that you reach is a win, right? So for me, success is being able to provide a lifestyle for my family that's not out of, fear. And what I mean by that is not necessarily that you have to be a multimillionaire. I don't have to have, a 30-bedroom house. I don't have to have the Rolls Royce. Not yet. But to me, success is, can I be there for my wife if she needs me? Can I be there for my children at their school events? If my wife needs me to do something for the family, am I tied up at work, or right? Do I have the flexibility? Do I have the independence? If there's God forbid an accident in the home, is that $500 going to break me? If the answer is no, then that's success. Alhamdulillah, like right. I'm not worried about where's that 500 going to come from. But also for me, success is being able to experience the world, right? That to me is success. This world is so beautiful, right? They can try to say, obviously there's people struggling, and I get that. And I know how blessed and fortunate we truly are. I know that, but people are great, no matter where you are, no matter what city, where you travel, and so having the opportunity to be able to travel, to be able to meet people. Learn about their cultures, learn about their way of life. It really kind of humbleizes and kind of keeps me centered. But that really is success to me. And then also, can I keep growing? Right? Can I keep learning? Is there something that I don't know too much of, but I can, get into that field or into that world? That's being successful to me. So it's not tied to money. I know most people will say, oh, you have to have this amount in your bank account. And I truly believe it's the people that you surround yourself with. It's the memories, right? Because what's going to happen is, time doesn't stop for anyone, right? And so, when you're, inshallah, 70, 80 years old, you're not going to remember what you did in quarter one of 2025 for your corporation, or how much money you made the year of 2025. You're going to remember the memories. You're going to remember the people that love you. You're going to remember the feeling that you provided to someone. That's success to me.
Medical malpractice is a very big issue, and it's sad because you go to the hospital, you go see a doctor, and you expect that you or your loved one are going to be taken care of to the fullest. And a lot of times these things don't happen, and some people get taken advantage of. And when you're in that situation where you thought you could be vulnerable and then you get stabbed in the back per se, you need someone that can stand up for you. That's where Amir Makhlid comes in. He's helped families navigate some of the toughest cases when it comes to medical malpractice, and he has come up on top. Because when it's your loved one that is hurt, it becomes very personal. Call attorney Amir Makhlid today. All the information to do that is in the description of this episode. 313-788-8888. And Amir will take care of everything for you. A lot of this talk about working very hard and being obsessed with what you're doing, it comes with a lot of stress. And sometimes you feel the stress right here in your shoulders. We might think that it's normal and you just ignore it. But one thing that you can do is do cupping therapy, or we like to call it hijama. It's this old school way of relieving tension in your back. It's a proven method to help you clean your system. Thrive Physical Therapy in Dearborn does it the right way. Clean, professional, and backed by real medical care. They offer both dry and wet cupping, and you can even request that a female do it if you're more comfortable that way. If you've been feeling drained or tense, click the link in the description of this episode, book your first session with Thrive Physical Therapy, and thank me later. Look, during this conversation, you'll see that a lot of the times we talk about life and goals and ambitions and where your North Star is, but sometimes we don't take the opportunity to slow down and ask, okay, but is what I already have in my life protected? It's one thing to get to the places that you want to be and get the things that you want, and then it's another thing to protect them. And life insurance isn't about being afraid of what could happen. It's about being prepared for the people that you love the most. And it's not this crazy expensive thing that you need to go above and beyond to get. Life Insurance Agency has flexible coverage, affordable plans, and they'll get you the coverage that you need. You ready to protect your car, you ready to protect your house. Why not protect the life of those people that you do everything for? So check out Life Insurance Agency. All the ways to contact them is in the link in the description of this episode. And now let's get back to the show. What were you curious about in your early before? But sales is such a it's a no one dreams when they're a little kid to being a salesman, you know. At least not before. Maybe now you probably see it because there's so many successful people that talk about their sales jobs. So maybe growing up, you will have some people that will talk about how they want to be salesmen. But before that wasn't the case. So I don't think you fell into it from a place of loving sales per se. But I want to stay on the notion of curiosity. So what were you curious about in those earlier days that made you land where you did in your career?
Yeah. Well, for me, you kind of asked earlier, like how do I define myself? I'm not a salesman, right? I'm in the business of service. And I provide a service for providers, for doctors, for their staff, for patients, right? Yes, technically, looked at with my company because my company has a product, right? But to me, I really don't look at myself as a salesman, right? I really try to go in trying to provide a solution, right? And so a lot of times when people, go into sales or go into business, right? They think that the world is their customer. That's great. If you get the world, that's right. But the reality is it's not. The world is not your customer. And so you have to identify your market, the right market, but more importantly, you have to put yourself in their shoes. It's never about you. And what I mean by that, I'm talking about whatever product, whatever service you have. That's what I'm talking about. It's more about how do you help that business? How do you help that clinic? How do you help that patient, right? And you have to take yourself out of it, right? You can't have selfish reasons to do that. And so as a young kid, I really didn't fully understand that, right? My journey in the corporate America started with, enterprise and kind of working in their management and, help people rent their cars and shuttle them from place to place and clean out cars. Like that was my job, right? But then there's a moment where you're seeing these group of people come in and dropping off their car and they're dressed nice and they speak well. And I'm like, what is this? Like, who are you, right? And they opened up my mind to a world that I didn't know, right? Growing up in Dearborn, Ford and, the car industry, that's what I knew. Is like, I just knew you work at a gas station, you find a job with in automobiles and cars. And so that was like what I was looking at. And so when I seen this world of people in the healthcare industry, and they're kind of walking in with like no stress and just happy and smiling, I just was curious. I just started asking questions. I said, well, what do you do? Like, what's your job? And the more I learned, I said, oh, wow, this is something that I think I could be really good at, right? Because it blended in everything that I believed and thought of, right? You're talking about healthcare, right? So you're helping people. You're talking about business where you're in an industry that's, you have a territory that's kind of your own business and you run it. And so I thought, man, I can really do this. And so that's where it started. It just started asking those questions and trying to do research and kind of say, okay, well, where can I go and who do I need to talk to and how do I get there? And it took a while. I'm not going to lie. It took a while to finally get it. But once I got in there, I thought, okay, I got it, right?
But where did you want to be before you saw these people in suits walk in? Where was Ali's head at? Okay, I want to finish working at enterprise. Mm-hmm. What in your head, what was the next career move after that?
Yeah, I honestly, I thought I'd probably stay with enterprise. Like I didn't have a roadmap. I really didn't. And that's no one's fault. That's just, because you're never like really taught that, right? You're not taught, most of the times, even like within schools, right? When you talk to high school students or if you talk to college students, they think that you have to be in only these specific industries, right? Mm-hmm. Doctor, lawyer, engineer, right? And so in the business world, it's more like, you get your business degree, maybe you get your MBA, and maybe you work for a corporation and you just kind of work your way up in that industry. But with this and the healthcare, for me, it just felt different. It felt like, I could provide a service that I know would help people.
But why is that important? Attaching purpose to it.
Because it gives meaning, right? When you give, your opportunities just open. And
Like, what's the difference between you attaching purpose to it and saying, no, I'm not a salesman, I'm someone that is providing service and I'm helping people out? How much better are you going to do versus someone in the same company that doesn't really have that approach, and he kind of knows all the information and he's a good communicator and he just goes in, he talks his way, charming maybe, he talks his way into like closing multiple units, for example. So what's the difference between you and this person?
Because overall, the long term, the person that has that's going in there, putting themselves in the other person's shoes, over time will build a true partnership. What do I mean by that? Somebody that's just coming into your example where they just want to sell, right? You got to do this. You got to get for the next 5 people, right? Short term, you might have that success, right? But in the long term, if you're not providing that level of service, if you're not coming from a genuine place of wanting to help, eventually that customer is going to not want to partner with you, right? And that's why it's important. It's important to truly understand who it is that you're trying to help. Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to make money. That's perfectly fine. But that doesn't mean that every door you have to open, it has to be you going in at 100 miles and saying, buy this right now. You have to buy this. That's not how it works. When you partner with the right people, you're not only helping the end user, whoever that might be. In my case, it's the patient, right? So I can kind of give you right now, I'm not in pharmaceutical. I'm in medical device. And so my company provides the insulin pump and a continuous glucose monitor for diabetics, whether they're type 1 or type 2, right? So I work with endocrinologists in the area, and I work with diabetes centers across Metro Detroit. And so we have a team. And so there has to be a process and a system to know that when that doctor says, hey, Ali, this patient needs help, right? It's not about, oh, I got to get the sale. No, it's about helping that patient. Because when you understand the disease of diabetes, it's very complicated. It's very difficult. It's really hard for patients. It's a lot going on besides their blood sugars going up and down. There's a lot of different factors that affect it. And so it needs that person needs the village, right? And so, yes, I'm not a doctor, right? But I am somebody that truly cares. I am somebody that wants to make sure that their burden is taken off. And whatever I can do, whatever that might be, that's how I set up the system. That's how I set up the process. That's how my team operates, right? It's not about, oh, the company needs us to do X amount. We got whatever we got to do. We got to cut. No, we don't do that, right? It's literally every day is the same. Every patient's the same, right? We can be helping a child who the parents are extremely nervous and don't know what to do. But at the same time, we can help an elderly patient that's also, struggling, and everyone's the same to me. And that's why it's important.
The reason I say that is because I know probably a lot of people will think about jobs just from the material return that they will get from that job. And to be honest with you, all the quote unquote successful people that I meet and that I talk to, they always have to attach purpose to their job. And I found that quite interesting because someone can be a great accountant, but even somehow the best accountant has to attach purpose to it. Like there's this line that, like you said, I'm not a salesman. I provide service. I help people that are in need of medical help, for example, and type 1, type 2 diabetes. That sentence is important for people to understand because some people don't think this purpose is important. They think this is something that you get after you're successful. Now you attach purpose to it.
Yeah.
But when I was reading the book, you kind of had this light bulb moment where you were I think the provider that you were trying to sell told you that our clients don't want this product. And then you're like, oh, wait, I never thought about what the client wanted in the beginning, right? And I found that so interesting because that moment for you changed your whole mindset to this is not about me. This is about them.
Yeah.
And I think whatever field you go into, you can't be thinking about yourself.
I was so grateful for that provider, right? So you got to remember, I'm at that point in the story, I'm 25 years old, and I'm this young, ambitious, like, oh, I'm ready to conquer the world, and I just got the job, and I went to training, and I felt like I was in a 5-star luxurious hotel, and I got like I felt like I made it, right? And so when I go into the training, and the company's saying, this is what you got to say, this is the playbook, right? I didn't know. So I just followed the playbook. And that, first of all, that provider did not have to do that. And I am so grateful that he did, right? And so if I could expand on that story that you shared, right? I talk about, going in, taking time, because it took time to kind of build the trust with the staff, and finally having that moment, that one-on-one that every rep needs. And I followed that playbook, and I said, hey, for your next 5 patients, right? It wasn't authentic. It was just what I was told. I just did it. And, he said no. And I was shocked. I was like, no. In my head, I'm like, I did the playbook. I did everything that, AstraZeneca said. And he goes, not for the next 5. He goes, I'm going to give you every patient. And I'm this young, naive kid thinking, oh my God, I just hit the jackpot, right? I was so excited. And I said, thank you. And I'm so appreciative. And I have no idea the lesson that he's about to teach me. And so weeks go by, and not a prescription. I'm not seeing him help any patients, on the medication. And so finally, after...
So you were trying to sell him a medication?
Yeah. So at that point in my career, I was selling Crestor, which is a cholesterol-lowering medication. And I used to go to primary care providers in the area, and he was one of them. And typically, there's layers in the clinic, right? So and again, all this I'm learning out in the real world, right? That the doctor necessarily is not always the most important person, right? Sometimes you feel like this decision maker is the decision maker, but really they're not, right? And it took time, but as I finally figured that out.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. So like in my situation, right? It's the receptionist, it's the medical assistant, it's somebody that's triaging, right? Everybody in that office is extremely important. Everyone, not just the doctor. And most people in our industry think it's just the doctor, and they think that just give me 30 seconds with the doctor, and just let me dump my message, and over time the doctor will do it. And just like in anything, it's not one person, it's a team, and everybody has a team. Everyone has a team, and you have to identify everyone's role, and you have to also identify how important that role is, because they are important. So I'm fortunate to where I work with one of the largest diabetes centers in the country, right here in our backyard, Metro Detroit Endocrinology Center. And there's, over 10 providers. The whole second floor is, over 35 exam rooms for diabetics. They do, anything that a diabetic would need, right, in the specialty world, that clinic has. They have podiatry, nephrology. They have a dentist, right? And so to be at that level and to help as many patients as they help, yes, the endocrinologists and the providers are all incredible. They truly are, right? But they also are incredible because of how they treat their staff, and that they know that they need their staff. And it's everyone together helping this one patient. And so that's kind of what I learned, and so kind of going back to that story, right? When I figured that out and kind of had that lunch with the provider, 4 or 5 weeks later, and I'm in this room, right? If I can just kind of paint the scene for you, thinking, okay, this is going to be my moment. I'm going to have my one-on-one with the doctor. And this is like my first true like lunch meeting, right? So in our industry, they tell you, you got to schedule lunches or breakfast because they're always busy. So most of your calls are 30 seconds, but they don't tell you what the lunchroom is like. No matter how many years you've been doing it, even if somebody's listening to this right now that's in the industry can relate to, you provide the lunch. There's, let's say, 20 people in the clinic. Everyone just comes in, fills up their plate with food, signs the sheet, says thank you, leaves. Doesn't even acknowledge you, doesn't ask you a question, doesn't care, to be frank, right? And so that's what was happening during this lunch. And I was like, man, this is not what I thought. I thought everybody would be happy. And so how much time goes by, 30, 40 minutes, finally the provider walks in, right? Same thing. The provider wants his food and he wants to get out. And so as I'm watching him eat, I'm like, oh, my opportunity's slipping. So I just asked a question. I just said, just help me understand. You said that you were going to provide, this medication for this patient type. Why haven't you? And that was when he answered that question, that's what changed for me. Because first off, he didn't have to do that. And I am so grateful that he did, because it opened my mind, because he said that he knows how Crestor works compared to, the competitor, which was Lipitor. And Lipitor was one of the most highest selling medication in the country. He knew the clinical trials. He knew all the information. But he made me realize I wasn't giving him the full story, right? He's only I'm telling him what AstraZeneca wants me to tell him, right? But I never stopped and asked him, what about your patients? What do they go through, right? Well, how do you decide? What makes you choose one over the other? And when he had that conversation with me, from that moment, that's when I knew I was doing this completely wrong.
So what does he tell you?
Well, he tells me that, patients are dealing with multiple chronic conditions. This is not the only medication that they have. Cost is a factor, right? The fact that patients might not have been doing so well, but they do well with the competitor, that's another thing. Competitors might be asking for that medication because their friends and family are on it, right? So there's all these different factors that I was not even thinking about. I just literally was thinking, hey, you know what? This is the medication. Here are the benefits. This is the patient type. Prescribe. That's it. Like, those are the checkpoints. And so when he's explaining those things to me, I said, man, I've been doing this job completely wrong. And that's when I changed. That's when I changed my mindset. That's when I changed how I approached the job. And to this day, I still do that. I always put the other person, and it doesn't matter what position, by the way, right? I treat the doctor the same way as, the janitor of the building, right? Everyone has a story. Everyone is trying to provide and have their lifestyle. Everyone deserves that level of respect and dignity. And, your status, although it's great, don't get me wrong, I'm very happy for you, but everybody deserves that same care. And that's honestly how I approach my life, not just in work. And I try to instill that in my children as well, too.
So you get this, so you go into this space, and do you understand where the North Star is, or not yet? Because I feel like every space you go into, so just for example, podcasting, that there's a top 10 list always of podcasts, and you always want to be there, and that's kind of the climb that you have to do. Other people's benchmark would be a certain number that they have to make a year. I'm going to try to reach for this number. Real estate agents also have lists. Want to be the number one in the county, in the city, and whatever their North Star is. Do you understand the North Star going into the job that you're going into, or no? At
the time, no. So you would have asked me, when I was at AstraZeneca, and I was there for almost a decade. My North Star was I got to be regional director. I got to move up the corporate ladder. I want to lead a team. I want to, provide strategies. I want to implement them. That was what I thought was my North Star. And it really wasn't until I came to Medtronic and got into the medical device space, where now I was a partner with the provider, right? And I was able to build that trust to where they're allowing me to speak to their patients. First off, that's one of the highest compliments I can get, right? Because you're trusting me to help you help your patient. Like, when I say that, like, I'm so grateful. Like, that is, first of all, you don't have to do that, but the fact that you trust me. So the North Star for me today is, obviously I want to provide for my family. Obviously I want to create memories, but more importantly, it's the patient. It truly is the patient. It's everything that the patient has to go through, is how can we make the process easier, and how can we take away the burdensome, the stress. That's my North Star. And with that comes success.
But what about back then?
Back then it was to be like a regional director.
But there's this one word that kept coming up in the book, and that was President's Award.
Oh, you're talking about President's? Okay, yes. So the President's Club was what I thought was my mountaintop. And it's an award given at Medtronic for their top performers over the course of a 2-year period. right? And so for me,
So every 2 years they give out this award?
well, every year they give it, but they're based off of the last 2 years of rankings.
Okay.
So your performance over the last 2 years is what determines whether or not you're going to win this year. And so for me, the President's Club, I didn't know what that was, right? I mean, AstraZeneca has something similar, but I never really defined it. I never really, at that time, I was trying to be, like I said, a regional director. I was trying to climb up. When I came to Medtronic and I attended my first national meeting, and you're in this hall with, close to 1,000 people, and they're bringing up only, 20 names of across the stage, and you're like, well, what the heck is this, right? Like, what is the President's Club? And then that evening, when I discovered it, I said, oh my God, for my career, that's my mountaintop. That's finally, now I have a goal that's specific, that I know what it's called, that I know the rules, that I know what I need to do to be the best version of myself, and that's winning President's Club.
How would you describe it to someone that doesn't know anything about the industry that you're in? Like, how would I understand the magnitude of a President's Club award?
Yeah, it's a great question, because everybody has a President's Club award. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. You can be, a teacher and want to win Teacher of the Year, a principal, you can be in finance, or you can be an accountant and want to have, want to be whatever top-ranked accountant, right? Every industry has those prestigious awards that you can strive for. And so for me, it was just defined as President's Club, right? And it doesn't really matter, because whatever field you're in, whatever industry you're going into, or even if you have your own business and you define your own President's Club, as long as there's a clear goal and a clear vision of how you're trying to get there, and you can reverse engineer it, that's the message, right? So for me, in my career, getting that President's Club award at that time said, I made it. I reached the mountaintop. I'm at the top of the mountain, and in your field, it can really be anything. And that's what I'm trying to portray in the book. The book is not a how-to. The book is not.
It's not a how-to at all.
It's not.
I thought it would be.
I appreciate you saying that,
Yeah.
but it's not. You're right. It's not a how-to book. It's not a sales book. It's not, if you do this, you're going to be number one. It's literally a growth mindset book. It's how are you going to push yourself? How are you, in the moments you get frustrated, there's obstacles, you feel like you can't do it, how are you going to push yourself, right?
How are you? What are the things that you've learned on this journey to being number one? So I think what's important is to dissect it in a way where everyone that's listening is able to be like, okay, I'm in this industry. These are the growth principles to make it to number one. And everyone wants to be at the top.
Yeah.
Right? That's the race, the rat race.
Absolutely.
That everyone's in. So let's go into this rat race. Where would you start?
First thing I would say is whatever industry you're in, whatever you're inspiring to be, okay, find someone who has success in that field, right? And reach out to them. Because if they are a true leader, if they will understand where you're coming from. They were in your shoes, right? So my first thing would be find that mentor, find that person. Mm-hmm. The second one is understanding your personal brand, right? That's really important, right?
Why is that important?
Because wherever industry you're in, right, you're not always in the room where decisions are being made. So you want people that are in the room to speak to you or speak about you in a way that represents you well, because that's how your career can flourish.
Reputation, you mean?
Your reputation. So if you say you're going to do something, you better do it, right? If you say that you want to take on a task, take it on, but don't check the box, right? Provide solutions, right? Don't stop at the complaint. Like one of the things that I do with my team is, we have our weekly calls, right? And I typically like to do them on Fridays because one is it allows us to recap the week that was. And then second, it allows us to say, okay, well, what do we got to do coming in Monday morning? So now on Monday morning, everybody on my team knows exactly what we got to do, right? We're not going to say, I don't know what we got to do. I'm confused. And we waste all of Monday. We just lost a day. That doesn't happen. But there's something that we implement as a team. One, to kind of create a true safe space, because, again, success is not by yourself, right? It really does take a team. But the rule is that when you're frustrated, when you're stuck, don't leave it bottled in. Let it out. If you gotta, complain. That's fine. My pet peeve is don't stop at the complaint. Don't complain and say 1, 2, 3, and then just stop and be in that negative space. Provide a solution. Right? Because again, it's all about mindset, right? Everybody has similar obstacles. Everybody has similar frustrations. You are where you're at. It sucks in the moment. I get it. What do we got to do? What can we control? Right? So one of my big things is control the controllables. Right? Control the controllables. It's really important because if you allow the negativity to creep in, well, then you're just wasting time because you're so stuck on it. And you're like, oh, yeah, we can't do it. It's impossible. Oh, we're never going to be able to reach this goal. It's too massive, right? Rather than reverse engineering it and just taking small steps and just treating every day the same. Don't just start working on a skill, right? If I can share a story, right?
Yeah,
Like my oldest son, right? Love him, okay? Hardest working kid, honestly, not because he's my kid, but because I see how hard he works, right? And, he wants to truly do his best that he can. And he knows that it has to take a lot of hard work, right? But if there's a goal that he sets, for example, like playing basketball, right? It's not that you practice 1 week before tryouts, right? You start going outside, you start dribbling the ball, right? The goal is in the off season. The goal is, hey, in February, when the season is done, are you dribbling? Are you doing the work that you need to do to get ready for the fall? Now, for a 12-year-old, I get it. I know he doesn't fully understand it yet, but he will, right? It's to show him that you're not going at it, in that moment and thinking that just because you want it, you're going to get it. That's not how it works, right? Because you want it, there's 1,000 other kids just like you that want it. And so you got to put in the work, and you got to do it when no one's looking. That's what it's about. Those moments is what defines you. Because when you're waking up at 5 a.m. and you're putting in the work and the world is sleeping, you already got a couple steps ahead of them. And that's how you keep getting motivated. And that's where you keep pushing yourself.
So we have finding someone that has already done it.
Yes.
Building a personal brand. On building a personal brand, the word personal brand has a connotation to your social media image now. That's what personal brand means. And people think building your personal brand, which is partially true, but like people build personal brands online, especially in this day and age. But I didn't get the feeling that you were talking about a personal brand that is online. It was this thing where, oh no, he's talking about your real life personal brand, which I think a lot of people now don't care too much about. They care more about what their online personal brand shows.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's a great observation. And thank you for observing that, because that's exactly right. I'm not on social media. I'm on, LinkedIn, right? But I'm not on, I was not on Facebook, even though I grew up in that era, And so that's exactly what the message is in the book, right? Or if you're listening to it, because it's, this idea, a perfect story that I can give you, right? I have a great friend of mine, and I remember going out to breakfast with him, and I love sharing the story because I felt like it represents the social media world, right? And I get it. It's a great way to reach out people. It's a great way to connect. It's a great way to let people know what you're doing. And we're having breakfast, and he shows me a picture of him and his children, and they're on the beach, and it looks beautiful. It's incredible. I said, wow, that's a beautiful picture. MashaAllah, looks great. And he starts laughing. He goes, it looks great? He goes, let me show you. And he shows me 10 other pictures that were terrible. One kid, his arm is this way, one kid crying, one kid not sitting, right? And he's like, it took so many of these pictures to get this perfect moment. And I was laughing because that's sometimes how I portray social media. And not that, again, that there's anything wrong with it. And maybe that's why, honestly, I was never in it. And maybe I do need to get into it if, inshallah, if I want to expand the reach of getting my book out there and letting people, see it. To be authentic, sometimes it's not always 5-star, right? To be authentic, sometimes it's boring, right? It's boring waking up 5 a.m, going to the gym. It's boring eating healthy. It's boring, running. I get it, right? And so on social media, you don't want to portray that, right? You don't want to portray that you got to wake up at 5 a.m while your kids are sleeping, and you're going to the gym and you're tired and you're exhausted, but it's what your body needs, right? Or that you sleep early because sleep is extremely important, right? You don't want to portray that. Like you're tired by 10 p.m., especially like in our community, right? 10 p.m. is like when the party starts, right? And I'm sitting here yawning and I'm like, I want to wake up, right? So there is a place for social media, absolutely, right? But you're absolutely correct. And when I'm talking about personal brand, I'm not talking about this character that you're trying to create, right? So that you can amass to millions of people and become a sensation on YouTube, right? I'm talking about when you're not there, truly not there, right? And people say, Ali Farhat, man, he's genuine, right? He will help you. He's honest. He has integrity. His ethics are strong. He's a family man. Like, he loves his wife and children so deeply. Like, that's what I'm trying to do, right? And I understand that maybe I might not do it to the millions of people, but the circle that I allow myself to be in, that's what I hope that they would say about me. And that's what I hope that I'm coming off, because that's generally how I feel.
How do people underestimate those circles? Because they're maybe, let's say, the circle at largest maybe is 50 to 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
People got so numb to numbers, and they'd rather portray that to 100,000, a million, or whatever the thousands that they can have access to online, than to the real world 100 people, which is still a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
100 people is a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And so when you're in these positions where, okay, the number isn't the social media numbers, but the effect and the ripple effect that you have of those direct communications are at one point way larger than the social media influence or the way that social media shows it.
Yeah. I mean, me, in my personal life, my circle is small, right? But to your point, like, 100 people, it's a lot, right? But to people that might be on social media, they may say, 100 people, that's not. I always say that collaborating, coming together with the right people and the right energy, just think of what you can accomplish. Just think if you had 5 like-minded people, right? That are striving for a common goal and that genuinely want to see everyone in that group succeed, what you can accomplish. Like, how beautiful is that? Like just think about, having, a set goal, whatever that might be. It doesn't really matter. But every person in that circle genuinely wants the other person to succeed, right? They don't look at that person as a competitor, or no, that guy can't have it because I'm not getting it, right? That's the space I want to be in,
Okay.
right? That's the circle I want to be in, because to me, when you were asking earlier, like, what's success? That's success, right? When I can get my group of friends and talk about ideas and talk about, hey, I'm stuck in this spot. Like, I can't figure it out. And them coming to me and saying, hey, have you ever thought of it this way, right? It gets my mind going. It gets me excited. I look forward to those sessions, right? We're not talking about how many followers we got, or we're just talking about day to day. Like, hey, I'm struggling with this, or if there's an opportunity to partner and do something, whether that's in business or just for family
ideas.
Just bouncing ideas. Like, that to me is more meaningful than a tweet, or what are they called now, X? Like, that's right. Again, I'm not saying that social media is not a powerful resource. Absolutely. And honestly, I'm not even saying that I might need to be on it, if I want to get my message across.
You're more talking about balance.
Yeah.
Having that, not neglecting real world, because that's where the real change happens in the real world. It doesn't happen on social media.
Right.
So what would be number 3 for you? Of building personal brand, number 2. What's number 3 step for growth?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely the mindset. It's having that growth mindset. It's being able to the way you speak to yourself is the way the world perceives you, right? And so when you allow negativity to get into your space, sometimes that clouds your judgment. And again, I wasn't always there, by the way, right? I was always I want to please everyone. I wanted to make everyone happy. I don't like confrontation. I'm very nice. I don't want. But now, as I'm getting older, now as I've gone through this journey of even just writing the book, it really showed me a lot, even about myself, right? And that, am I spending my time wisely, right? Am I in the right mindset? Meaning, am I doing what I need to do to continue to grow, continue to ask the questions? And then more importantly, are the people that are around me, are they the right fit, right? Sometimes we think, can't let this relationship go because they've been with me for 30 years, right? And unfortunately, sometimes the connection that you had 30 years ago is not the same today. Not to say that they have to be cut off or that you have to be, disrespectful or anything like that. It just means that, unfortunately, it's not aligned with where you're at. And then that's okay as well, too. So it's just surrounding yourself with the right people who provide the right energy and the right mindset to allow you to keep growing. And that will always evolve. Who I am today was not the same as 10 years ago.
Look, a lot of these recordings happen early in the mornings, and there's nothing better than waking up, going to Detroit Park, grabbing a great cup of coffee, and just having an amazing conversation like this one. It's my favorite place to go grab coffee. It's one of those things where I don't even have to overthink it. I know I go there and I'm going to get the best cup of coffee there is. I got an Americano, Ali got an Americano, and it's going to depend on what you like, but they just released their winter specials. It's festive. The season is very festive. The flavors match the season, and you should definitely go try it out. And what I'll do for you is I'll put the link to download their app in the description. That way, if you don't want to wait in line, you can order ahead, pick up in store, and get going. After listening to this conversation with Ali, you might have this dire need to go out and do more. Maybe start the business that you've always been dreaming of. And to do that, a lot of times you're going to need cash. You're going to need some funding. And knowing how we are as Arab, you don't want to go ask people for money. But the thing that you don't know is, in between the walls of your home, you might have that money that you're looking for. Mortgage Connections have been helping people use their home equity that they've worked so hard for to do these big projects, whether it's paying off a credit card, whether it's paying for your child's school, whether it's starting a business like I was saying. This is money that's yours completely. And you can do it and get approved within minutes. And you can pick your own rate and your own term. And they've been closing in as little as 5 days. And it's really this mixture of all the right things at the right time. And if you're listening to this and you feel like you are ready for that move, click the link in the description of this episode and you can get started on that journey today. And now let's get back to the show. I like that you mentioned the people. I know a very big part of your book was your wife and the relationship that you guys had and how that ultimately affected your career growth as well. What aren't people realizing about their spouse or partner in their career growth journey?
Yeah. Well, I'm so blessed that I married my wife, because honestly, she could have married anyone. And the fact that she chose me, like, honestly, even after 13 years, I love her just as much, if not more, than the first time I met her, because just the way she is, the way she views life, the way she questions what I'm doing, the way she wants me to be the best version of myself as well, and allows me to see things that sometimes I can't see. And to anyone that's, thinking about getting married or, hopefully they're going to be getting married, right? That's the most important decision you'll ever make in your life. Right? That's your best friend. That is your other half. And so to me, having someone who's so loving, who's so intelligent, who can get my mind going like all the time when I'm stuck is a blessing.
How does she do that?
She just asks the right questions, man. She's you'll love her when you meet her, but she just asks really deep, thoughtful questions about you, and she just wants to know. She's just curious, and so she makes you feel comfortable. She showed me how really to love. Like, she made me see what's important in life, right? Because my younger version, I thought, like I said earlier, make as much money, go the corporate ladder. Where she taught me, no, man, it's about the memories, right? It's about, we don't have this infinite time here.
Is it hard to see that when you're so obsessed and you're focused on your job and you're trying to climb that ladder and win the rat race, and when someone comes and tells you, hey, don't you think like we should slow down and just have some fun and create memories? Those are two kind of contradicting ideas when you first hear them. Did you feel that way?
Absolutely. Oh my, I mean, family vacations now are like a must. But years ago, I wouldn't take any time off. Like, I would just be working.
You didn't feel like you needed it. Like, I'm good.
Like, what's the point of like staying home for a day, right? I could be working. I still have the strong work ethic. I still work extremely hard, but my process is a lot different, right? I work smarter. I am more efficient. But she showed me that you need that break, right? You need to be able to connect with people, and connect not just like on a surface level, deep connections.
Do you agree with that?
100%. And she showed me that. And honestly, I'm not even there yet. I'm not like her. I wish I was. Like, she is an incredible woman. Like, she connects so deeply, she's so authentic and loving. And, she wants the best for you, right? She wants, like, when you tell her, I'm doing this, like, she's genuinely happy for you. Like, she doesn't get jealous. She doesn't compare. And I learned that from her. And I learned that this world is so massive that, yeah, everybody can be successful, right? So if you're successful today and I might not be where I want to be, that's okay, right? It just means that I'm still along on my journey, and I will get there, as long as I have a plan, as long as I work hard. And, I'm thankful for her for teaching me that. It's really important. And so
she is the one that told you that it's okay if you're not there yet. It's a journey and you're still on the way.
Yeah.
Like, you're never out of the race, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you'll see in the book, right, that this journey didn't happen overnight, right? There were times when, we were talking about earlier about this President's Club award, right? That was my mountaintop. And to come so close, and every year something happening, right? There was really only two ways to react. I could have said, forget this. Like, what am I doing? Like, who cares? Right? I could have easily said, oh, I'm not. Every time there's something happening and it's not meant for me, right? But when you have somebody who genuinely believes in you, who wants the best for you, who says, hey, you know what? Why don't you stop? Take a step back. Let's reevaluate this. And she shows you something that you didn't see. Oh my God, it's the best. It's the best feeling. And I swear, like, again, to the audience, I know I keep saying this, man. First off, your partner, your spouse, husband or wife, that's your sounding board. That's that's the person that's gonna push you to the next level. That's the person that's gonna, sees you in the darkest moments, but also lifts you up and raises you up. And so for me, Amar does that. Like, I love her so much, and so I'm glad that you picked up on how much I love her in the story.
It was evident that I think a lot of people, they don't want to find that spouse until they make it. We'll make it, and then they have these steps that they want to go through. I'll make it, then we'll find the spouse, and then I'll make it a little more, then we'll have kids, and then I'll make it a little more. And it's always like a career milestone, then something family. And then the way you explained it was, no, it was actually not the case.
Yeah.
And also, this is a common theme with people that are very successful. They have their relationship with their spouse and their partner is very important. That it kind of helps funnel all that energy into the right places, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. I mean, look, when we got married, right? Yeah, I was having success as a pharmaceutical rep, and I was making money, and I was able to provide, and life was good. My family, again, we weren't rich, right? Same with her family, right? We both came from not struggling, but parents that worked hard and didn't have the luxury to travel every year, And so one of the advice that I always give people that are getting married in that engagement phase where everything is beautiful and exciting and the fire is there, right? The most important conversation is the finance conversation, right? And me and Ahmad, we did, right? And I vividly remember one conversation when we were talk about, as we're getting ready for the wedding, me explaining to her like my thoughts on finance, right? Where not that I'm, first off, I'm not materialistic at all. Like, right? To me, the motivation is not getting the nice car to show everybody I have a nice car, right? To me, the motivation is, am I getting better? That's for myself. And, I remember telling her that, I just want to be like perfectly honest that even if I could give you a lifestyle of a 10, I wouldn't want that on day one, because then what are we striving for? Like if you're already at a 10 and you have everything's handed to you, like where else is there to go?
Is that the financial? This is what you mean by the financial conversation?
Yeah, I mean, like you have to be honest, right? Like as far as like the home that you're gonna get, right? If you can't get the 5-bedroom home today, that's okay, right? If you have to rent for a little just to save your money to get that, starter home, and then from the starter home get to the larger, that's okay as well too. Our starter home, we were there for 10 years, right? We were able to save. We were able to provide these memories for our children. We were able to do these family vacations. And as we grew and as my success grew, then we were able to get, maybe a larger home. But it doesn't have to happen on day one. And when you go through that journey and when you're experiencing it with the person that you love more than anyone in the world, it's such a rewarding feeling because you did that together. And this success, even like in the book where, yes, it's my story, right? But I'm trying to make it universal because it's not really about me. It's about the reader. It's about somebody who might be wherever they are in their career, just trying to figure it out. And even when you figured it out and you're at your mountaintop, there's another mountain to climb. And so for me to have someone like Amal in my space and to continue to show me these other mountains, I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful, and that's what everyone should have. And so when you have those kind of financial conversations in the beginning, now you're setting the expectation. Now you're not struggling. Now you're not, earlier where I was saying, do you have a $500 payment somewhere, something breaks down in the house, and now you're struggling, right? So that's what I'm talking about for those people that are trying to get married or start off in their career is don't try to get to a 10. Take your time. It's okay. And honestly, it's a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
I know you can't see it right now. I know it might seem like a long time, 20 years, but it really goes by fast. And if you are in the moment, and it's hard, it's even hard for me, right? People say live in the moment, right? When you're in the moment, genuinely in the moment, and you're grateful and you just let the kind of universe kind of suck you in, it's one of the best feelings of gratitude. And that's what I chase for. And that's what, I hope everybody can get.
It's really a burden of expectation that you assume that she has high expectations, or you expect her to have high expectations, and you're trying to meet these, and they're all fake. Like they're all just illusions of what you think she expects, what you expect for your household, and you want to be at the top right now, and you want to show and prove yourself. But like you said, it's really not that serious.
Yeah,
it's pretty smooth sailing if you really have that conversation.
Well, I think also a lot of it, unfortunately, kind of goes back to your talk about social media, right? Social media, again, it's great, but sometimes you're trying to portray this lifestyle not for you, right? It's for the world to see. Hey, look at me. Look at what I have. Look at where I've been. Look what I did. And, again, share those experiences. It's great, because maybe it opens up the mind for somebody else to do that. But the reality is, life is hard. It's hard. It's hard to get to the top. And not saying that you can't you can absolutely do it, right? But you have to have the discipline. You have to have the daily habits to keep pushing yourself, because there's going to be an obstacle. There's going to be frustration. There's going to be somebody saying you can't do it. There's going to be times where you look in the mirror and you're like, can I do it? And you got to force yourself, and you got to keep pushing, and you got to keep. So for me, I already have that, or I like to think that I have that, hopefully, but I still have those moments.
Yeah.
I still, even today, I still have those moments. Say, is this really worth it? Am I doing it? And, you know, when you have the right circle and you have the right people saying, absolutely, it's the right time. And that motivation, you're like, oh, you know what? You're right. You know, everything's going to be all right.
There's this moment in the book where I thought it was very interesting. You talk about this figure named Shadi, right? And Shadi is like the LeBron James of the industry, right? This guy has won President's Club multiple times, and he's the figure. And it's the thing that I want to ask about isn't necessarily about Shadi himself, but about what he told you about you really being a hard worker and having no results. I think a lot of people will fall into that they feel like they're working so hard and they're tired and they're really putting everything in, but there's just no results, and that kind of demotivates them. And he tells you that you just have to tweak. These are tweaks that you do in the approach.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be putting this much effort for average results, right?
Absolutely.
And I just want to kind of get your perspective on understanding that.
Yeah. Well, let me give context to the audience,
Yes,
right?
please.
So Shadi is the GOAT. Like Medtronic Diabetes, he is clearly the best of the best. And so when I started a little over 9 years ago, and I went to the first national meeting, even in training, even in the awards, his name was always coming up. You know, you got to talk to Shadi, and right, and I don't know who he is. I have no idea. He's in Virginia. I'm in Michigan, and the idea about earlier where I was talking about mentorship and reaching out, right? Well, if I want to be successful, and now that I have a clear goal, right, am I going to talk to somebody that has average results, or am I going to go to the greatest of all time in our space? Like literally, at that time, he had 6 consecutive President's Club awards. Okay, for anyone in the industry, it doesn't even really matter if you're in the industry. Like just to be at that level of consistency is incredible. Well, fast forward to today, he's had 14 straight. He continues to do it, right? Year after year, he's unbelievable, right? And I'm so appreciative of his friendship and his mentorship, because he helped me see things that I wasn't seeing. So when you're talking about that conversation that's in the book, and I said to myself, I got to reach out to him. And I had that doubt, right? I said, how's the number one guy gonna reach out to me, like this rookie? Like he doesn't know who I am. But that's not who he is, right? Because that's what I was saying earlier, where he taught me. He's like, he was in my shoes. He was a rookie. He was trying to figure it out. And the fact that I reached out to him, he didn't have to call me back. Like he literally called me back that same day. He said, hey, Ali, listen, I know you're frustrated. I know you're trying to figure it out. I know it's been a little less than a year. And he goes, walk me through what you're doing. And I would tell him. I tell him what I would be doing. I'm going to, thinking at that time, right, because I've been trained for almost a decade in the pharmaceutical world, I got to get to 10 clinics. I got to dump all this information in 30 seconds. I got to, the more calls I make, the better results I'll get. And he's like, no, that's not how it works, right? And he showed it to me. He said, you got to make sure that your processes are in place, right? So I already had the experience from AstraZeneca and the patient care. That was there, right? Now I needed the process and the efficiency, really, not just from the patient care, but from the doctor, from the insurance, right? So it was the same kind of foundation that was at AstraZeneca, but now it was flipped into a different role. And so when that happened, now I said, oh my God, I got the blueprint from the greatest, right? I wasn't going to waste it. And there were times where over the years where I'd be like, am I doing this right? And he really became a friend. And even to this day, he's one of my closest friends. And we talk all the time, not just obviously about business, but family. And that friendship helped me see that building processes and efficiencies are extremely important to success. That's how you start to become successful. Building the process, being efficient, taking the burdensome off of your client or your customer, wanting them to do business with you, because they know, hey, when I send Ali a message, I say, hey, this patient needs your help. that doctor knows that the next time you see that patient, Ali would have already gotten them the therapy. Ali would have gotten them trained. Ali would have gotten them downloaded for their pump for the doctor to see. All that would be taken care of. But they don't know how I'm doing it, but I had to create that. And so when Shadi explains that to me, that's another light bulb. Because now I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense. And so ever since that day, that's what I would do. And I would keep working at it. And so, I got the results that I was looking for.
Is self-doubt important?
Is it important? I don't know if it's important. I think it's there. I think all of us have self-doubt. I think there's moments where you start to question. I think there's moments where you start asking yourself, am I the right guy? Is this the right time? Can I really do it? It's natural. I feel like everybody has those. I have those. Do you truly believe in what you're trying to do? Do you truly believe you're capable of doing it?
Is that the question I should be asking myself?
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to also be realistic. And what I mean by that is that just because you want it now doesn't mean you're going to get it. I know we live in a world of instant gratification, right? That goes back to the social media. Everybody sees these things on social media. That's not real.
Millionaire in a week.
Yeah, you're not a millionaire in a week, right? You're not going to be successful by yourself, right? You're not an overnight sensation. That's not true, okay? That overnight sensation, you didn't see the years or the people that helped them, right? There's a team. And so it's really, really important to, in those moments, keep pushing, keep climbing. Even just a small win is an improvement. As long as you're getting better every single day, you're on the right path.
Now, we talk about obstacles, and at work you'll find a lot of obstacles, but one obstacle that really shakes up the world is death. And you mentioned the death of your mother-in-law.
Allah yarhamha, yeah.
Allah yarhamha. Can you walk me through that time?
Oh man, it's tough. Honestly, it was really, really tough. Unfortunately, we lost her to stomach cancer in 2020. She was diagnosed 14 months was what she was given. I still remember the day, like going to their house, or getting ready for family dinner, and just kind of seeing everyone and getting the news. I didn't know really at that time, like what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to act. I just really tried to ignore it when I was in her presence, because try to get her mind away from it, talk about anything. I kind of see the burden that it took on my wife, her sister, her brother, my father-in-law. They honestly showed me how to just be there. It was very, very difficult, because my mother-in-law, just like Amal, she makes you feel at home, right? Anyone that knows my mother-in-law knows, you'll see her sitting outside and they will drive by, they'll honk the horn, they'll park, and she'll make a cup of coffee. Sunday dinners were an absolute must. We had to be there on Sundays, and she loved it. And I just, always remember coming down the stairs, seeing her in the kitchen, and just big smile, give her a hug and kiss. And I didn't appreciate it as much as I wish I would have, to be completely honest. I just, you take time, really, you take it for granted. And so, in the book, I share a story where we were blessed to take one last family vacation with the kids, my sister-in-law, and my in-laws. And there's a moment where I really don't remember where everyone was, and maybe we were getting ready for an event or something there, and it's just my in-laws sitting, and I went and grabbed ice cream, and just having an honest moment, and just her giving me advice, really telling me what you think is success it's not, right? It's not money. Money is not success. It's the moments, right? And so I understood that from her. And honestly, earlier on when I got married and was in the family, and I seen how much they love, they love each other, like truly, like it's an incredible feeling. And someone like myself, who's, again, my family, we love each other, but we're a large family, you know, and it's, you know, sometimes you'll go maybe a few days or a week without seeing anyone, but, you know, we try to be there once a week, but not Amal and her family. Like they're every day, like they're talking, they're, you know, they're connecting. And so she taught me by how she raised her children, truly how to be successful in that regard.
Can you walk me through the moment you knew that she passed away? Can you talk to me about that day?
Yeah, it was I think a little past midnight. Amal and I were awake, and that day she was at the hospital. So obviously it was during COVID, and unfortunately we couldn't all be there. And there was usually it would rotate between Amal and my sister-in-law, or my brother-in-law or my father-in-law. Like one of them would always be there. And during the day, my wife was there. She spent the whole day with her mother, and then her sister came, and her sister was there. Amal came home, and unfortunately she was having some complications for an operation that she had done a few days earlier. And we got the call, and I remember... Sorry.
It's okay, take your time.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I just remember Amal getting the call, and you know, just the scream. Oh man, I didn't know what to do, to be honest. I really I held her, you know, just wanted to be there for her. And my mother-in-law was young. She was, you know, at the time she was only 64. So it was hard. It really was hard. But to be honest, like, you know, although she's not physically like with us, like her love, her way she lived for her children, like honestly, like Amal and her family, like are like her. You know, they're warm people. They're caring. They genuinely care for you. They want to see the best for you. And that's all a representation of my mother-in-law. Like, she is an incredible woman. And I'm so blessed that I was able to, you know, get 9 years with her. I wish it could have been more. You know, I wish I would have appreciated it more. I wish I would have, you know, the moments when, you know, at the time when Amal was working and our son Adam, she was watching him, that I could have, you know, cherished those moments when I'd pick him up and be sitting with her and talking about just random things, right? And, you know, I just wish that, you know, the Sunday dinners, I valued them more, because you're not guaranteed anything in this world, honestly. Like, time doesn't stop for no one. And so she really taught me how to love. She taught me how to be a man. She taught me how to be a husband, how to be a father. And honestly, I hope that I honor her the best that I can, and I hope that that her, you know, that her message of the way she lived, like, lives through all of us, whether it's myself, whether it's my wife, my children, her children, her relatives, you know. So she was an incredible woman. She really was.
Allah yarhamah.
Allah yarhamah.
It's so grounding for an event like that to happen in a busy world that we live in, and sometimes we get lost in the pursuit that we forget what matters, and you don't know the effects of that until you lose someone, and that's very unfortunate. That's when you realize, oh, like I wish we had more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's taught me also that, use your time wisely. Everyone gets 24 hours in a day. And so the way you use that time is really important, because you're not guaranteed tomorrow. You think you have all this infinite time, and so everyone has the same amount of time in a day, I'm talking about, right? And so how you use that, how you spend your energy is really important. So you control where you want to spend that time. And so whether that's growing your career, whether that's building a life with family, whether that's, spending more time with your loved ones in the circle, choose your time wisely, because nothing is guaranteed. And that impacts, yourself, but also it impacts those that are around you.
And then after everything happens, after you failing multiple times at the President's Award, and in the book you describe those moments very well, of how devastated you were. Man, not this time. I was always surprised about you never didn't make it the goal anymore. You kept it. That is where I'm going. Until you actually made it. And then you describe this moment that you share with your family. I have a question. Why wasn't the event in person? Why were you watching it on a screen?
Because of COVID.
Oh, okay.
Well, it was COVID during that time, but then also the company wasn't doing these live. Like it was actually a couple years after COVID. So during COVID they did the virtual ceremonies, and then they really haven't done national meetings like that. And at that time they were still doing the virtual.
And so the moment you see that, when you were sitting at home, did you think it was going to be just another time that I didn't make it? Like truly, like deep into his heart, what did he think was going to happen that day?
I truly felt like I was going to win it.
Okay.
That year, I felt it because the year prior, when I come short, there was something in my process that I wasn't doing that I share in the book, right? And so that changed, and that we had success, and everything else that we were already doing was successful. So, and I was tracking, but in the story, I was tracking the wrong information, right? And it wasn't until I had a conversation with a friend from Tennessee who told me, hey, I was looking at this data wrong. And so once I did that about a month early before the before the year was ending, I was very confident that we were right there. And then there was something that I share in the book when I was talking about that red folder, that also once we accomplished that, I was like, okay, well, that's the threshold that I need. And so I was fairly confident that year.
What is the red folder for people who
they got to read the story. They got to read the book, right? The red folder, I'll just tease it up this way, right? The red folder, I'm a huge basketball fan. And the red folder is my Michael Jordan moment. Now, I'm not saying I'm Michael Jordan, okay? I'm not saying I'm creating a dynasty or anything like that. But there's a game that always stuck in my mind as a young kid. And that's Game 6 of the 1998 NBA Finals, okay? So I'm this, 13, 14-year-old kid watching Michael Jordan, Game 6, on the road against the Utah Jazz, and they're down, and he comes in, he scores, and they're down by 1, and then the Utah Jazz comes back, and they're trying to do a play with, at that time was Stockton and Malone. So Stockton's the point guard. He passes it to Karl Malone, but Michael Jordan knows, right? He knows what to anticipate because he's seen this before. He read it. And what does he do? He just swipes the ball from Karl Malone, and he takes the ball. So now there's, 10 seconds left, and they're not calling a timeout. Down by 1. If he hits the shot, they win the championship. And if they don't, they play Game 7. So they elect to just keep going. So Michael Jordan's dribbling, and so he's eyeing the clock. He's looking at it. He's waiting for the right moment to strike. And he's got Brian Russell against him. And he just does this beautiful crossover that makes him slip. And then he just takes the shot. And as he takes the shot, he knows it's going in. It's like this perfect pose It's like poetry in motion right there. And it swishes, right? Nothing but the bottom of the net. And there's still 5 seconds left, but he knew at that moment he was going to win the championship. And they did. One of my favorite NBA plays like of all time, right? And so that red folder is my moment, is that moment right there, because there was something that was given to revenue-wise to my team 1 week before the year ended. And the company awarded me that revenue that I needed. And once I had that revenue, it was done. But what happened was they took the revenue away because they said it was months, like the revenue should have been given months ago. Why is it given now? It didn't look right. So I had to prove that we had earned that revenue and that we deserved that revenue. And that red folder is the reason why I was able to prove that. And so when people hear that story, right, and they listen to it, it's another way of being relentless. It's another way of not taking no for an answer. It's another way of making sure you're going to get what you deserve. And so that's when I'm talking about the red folder, which I still, by the way, have to this day. It's still in my work bag. I still show it to my team, right? It reminds me who I was in that moment, what I had to do to get that. And once I got it, I felt like Jordan, who just hit that shot.
Yeah. So the moment that you win President's Club, if I was a fly on the wall, what would I have heard?
A lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of hugs and kisses. I'm so grateful that I was able to share that moment with my children and my wife, people I love the most in this world, right? That was an intimate moment. That was my championship moment. I call it because I love the celebration. Even as a kid, even like watching like the Bad Boys, the Pistons, right? When Isaiah Thomas would be in the room and, saying, the Ohio player says, heaven must be like this. And he starts singing, heaven must be like, right? And just that big smile on his face and the team just all together, like that locker room moment, like that is something, even as a young child, I wanted that. I wanted that championship moment. And the reason why I love my wife so much is because she knows I wanted that, right? So she surprises me with my own championship moment. And she goes, we got one more surprise for you. And what does she do? She has the kids splash me with Gatorade. And it was like the best feeling. Like it was honestly all the years of hard work, all the struggle, all the pain, like that shower, that yellow Gatorade splash coming down me, was like the cold, but felt so good. And I was like, so that's what you would have been seeing if you were a fly in the wall. Just a lot of happy people and a moment that will always be like etched in my brain.
And then is it that moment when the dust settles that you realize, because you mentioned this earlier, that obtaining that award wasn't really the goal that you had put in mind? It was actually something else. So is it then when the dust settles that you realize that?
Yeah. So for me, I thought, my younger version, that when I got President's Club, that's it. I made it. Like I reached it. Like there's nothing else to climb. And what it taught me, which I'm glad that it happened, right? Because now I look at my goals completely different. What it taught me is that the journey is really important. That who you become along the way is extremely important. And that by you identifying a specific goal, even if you fall short, you're still going to be successful. Because you're working for such an ambitious goal that most people are going to say, you're crazy. Like, you're not going to do that. Like, there's no way you're going to, who are you to think you're going to do that, right? So, and to your point, right, so what readers are going to get is that when I reach the mountaintop, the book doesn't end there, right? You know this, right? Because there's one more massive goal that I have to hit. And that's what takes me on the last 2 years of my life. And that journey shows you kind of, okay, well, here's somebody that's successful. Here's somebody that, has what he needs and, in the outside world has everything that he wants, can travel wherever he wants, can do whatever he wants, right? So to most people, like, yeah, Ali is successful. He can, he can buy what he wants. But in my mind, I said, no, there's another mountain to climb, right? And that's how the book kind of starts to end, is that going towards that final massive goal. And will I get there? And can I get there? And how do I get there if I get there, right? So there's all these things that I'm hoping that as people are reading or listening to the book, that they put themselves in that situation. And they say, what's my goal? What's my motivation? What do I got to do? So as we were saying earlier, and you mentioned it again, it's not a sales book. It's really, I'm trying to put it in a way where I blend in my personal life, yes, but I'm trying to provide these universal principles. And I'm trying to have a conversation with the reader and hoping that the reader is asking themselves these questions as they're listening to the book. That's my goal. That's the vision. That's what I want people to get out of this.
What's one thing that we didn't talk about today that you think we should have?
I just think that people need to believe in themselves, right? And I'm not saying that, I'm talking about like those conversations that you have with yourself, whether it's, in the middle of the night, when you wake up early, when you're in the car, right? The way you talk to yourself is extremely important, right? The way you love yourself is extremely important. And it's okay not to have all the answers, okay? I don't have all the answers. I still don't have all the answers. But be curious, learn, ask questions, right? When someone in your circle is being successful or has success, genuinely appreciate that for them, right? Lift them up. This idea that we have to compete with each other, it's just not true. It's not true, right? This idea that we have to have the same business every corner of our street because one person has success and that's the only way we're going to do it. And so we feel like, okay, well, if 100 people are doing it, right? I'm not saying that not to do that, by the way. Competition is good. But I'm just saying you don't have to always, follow, right? You can be your own leader, right? And so when the atmosphere doesn't feel right for you or the energy doesn't feel right for you, walk away. And know when to walk away, because it's okay, because you will restart, you'll figure it out, you'll remember that feeling, and you'll make sure to not do that again. And so my message to anyone that's listening is continue to dream, like dream as big as you can. I'm fortunate to where I do these talks with students, right? And I always tend to ask them, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And, the most recent one that I did was I did it for my daughter's 5th grade class, which I was so excited to do. And I remember one kid saying, I want to create video games. Great. Awesome. Right? And there's one kid who wants to be an NBA player. Keep doing that. And I always tell the audience this line, right? And it was a line that I heard that stuck with me, is that if you're in a room with people, okay, room full of people, and you tell them your dream, and that dream doesn't make them laugh, you're not dreaming big enough. Dream as big as you can possibly dream, and even if you fall short, you're still going to be successful, right? Reach for the stars, and even if you fall short, you'll still be on the mountaintop, right? You're still going to be much more successful than when you were today. So that's the one thing that I hope people get out of the story. That's what I hope that they get, out of the conversation that we had today. And just continue to kind of grow and have that growth mindset.
There's a great line here at the end. This is it. And you're talking about greatness, and this is kind of where I think a lot of people should understand this, is greatness is not reserved for the chosen few. Greatness is available to everyone. Greatness is for anyone who is willing to show up every single day and willing to do the hard tasks all the time, even when no one is watching. Your greatness lies within you. It's not a matter of if your greatness will be revealed to you, but when. And that really stuck with me because that's important. People underestimate how good they are, and they underestimate their capabilities and where they can go and where they can be. And I think understanding that greatness isn't reserved for only a few people, greatness is available for everybody. That changes the game.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't have to follow this like production line, right? Go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a degree, get a 30-year mortgage, work at a corporation, retire, your golden years, right? Your golden years, but you're going to doctors because you're sick, and then you pass on, right? That doesn't have to be your life.
Yeah.
That's what they want us to think, right? But truly, truly, everyone has greatness in them. Everyone
And
has a story.
the world is changing so fast
Yeah.
that the opportunities are limitless.
How incredible is it for us to live in this time, right? With the technology, with the rise of companies that are doing things faster and being able to get whatever you want with a click, right? I mean, just it's a whole new world, and it's only going to get better, and it's only going to get it's going to continue to grow. And those people that see the world in that positive light are the ones that will thrive.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely. Ali, thank you so much. Where can we find the book?
it's on Amazon.
Okay.
Relentless: The Personal Climb to Number One. It's also an audiobook format. They can find it on Audible and all platforms. If you want to reach out to me, they can, email me personally at ali@relentlesstoday.com. If there's any organization, any group, any, school that wants to discuss this further, I'd be more than happy to do that. And just honestly, if there's a person in your life that you feel can benefit, share the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a story about me. It's really, I'm trying to put it in a space where you flourish, where you grow, and where you learn.
Absolutely. Ali, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Of course.